Hi, everybody. Marc Summers here. We are back with Marc Summers Unwraps, and thank you for being so loyal. I know I keep getting messages about what the hell's going on. Why haven't we done any new episodes? Well, the year started off with me in New York for 6 months doing my one-man show off Broadway, Life in Slimes, and then I got back. And this is one of those stories where unless you put your ass out on the line, nobody will ever see you. And somebody from the Hallmark Channel came to my show and called me about now 8 weeks ago and said, "We're doing a Hallmark movie. Would you like to be in it?" And I said, "Well, I don't act. That's not what I do." And they said, No, we just saw your one-man show. You act. Would you like to do it? So, folks, I just got back. I was in Winnipeg, Canada for 3 weeks. And I have a lead in a Hallmark movie, which airs December 13th. It's called Hanukkah on the Rocks. Imagine I play a Jew. That would be Sam Rosen. So anyway, December 13th, Hanukkah on the Rocks. I just got done recording that. And people say, well, why don't you do Zooms? And here's my feeling. And this is sort of the method that we use here. Unless it's Jesus or Obama, you got to be in the studio because podcasts just aren't the same unless somebody's sitting across from you. So today I have a gentleman sitting across from me. We've been trying to get this going for, well, now months, and his schedule has been sort of off the wall. And please welcome to Marc Summers Unwraps, Scott Thompson. You know him as Carrot Top. Welcome to the show.
Thank
How are
you,
sir?
man. And a Hallmark movie, you've made it.
I made it.
No, seriously, that's not a joke. Who doesn't watch Hallmark movies associated with the holidays?
Those things are, I had no idea how much of a cult following these things have.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I did it. And you've been in films.
I'm not a Hallmark one, though, but that is very cool.
It's interesting, but the process is so different from what you and I are used to.
Sure.
I've been a producer of reality TV and been on God knows how many shows, but the process of moving cameras and taking 19 takes, for 3 hours.
Unbelievable.
It's just a whole different mindset. Yep. So what can I tell you? Good to see you, my friend. You're in Los Angeles, what, just to get away from Vegas?
Just to see you and do a couple things, then head back. I have a show tonight back in Vegas.
Oh, you do tonight?
Yeah. I
So
had a
how
show
many
on Saturday.
nights do you work?
6. My manager has a car payment, so we have to keep the flow going.
So you do 6 for how many weeks? 3?
About 3 or 4 weeks. Then I would take a week off. I usually go to Florida for the week. I have a house there, and then come back. So it's not bad. It's a nice little rhythm. 3 or 4 weeks, 1 week off. 3 or 4 weeks, 1 week.
So 19 years at the Luxor.
19 years at Luxor.
And where were you prior to that? MGM?
MGM Grand, yes.
So how many years have you been living in Las Vegas?
10 at MGM and 1, so almost 30 years in Vegas.
10 at MGM?
Yeah. I would share the room with like Tom Jones and George Carlin, and literally these legends. And I would come in for a couple of weeks and then go on the road and do my shows and come back and do the Vegas for a couple of weeks and go back on the road.
Good God.
But now we just do the permanent. I lived in the Luxor for the first couple of months when I got then I found a house.
So I've hered 3 different stories about the name Carrot Top. Coach, your grandmother. Well, what's the real story?
The real story has nothing. I don't know where that came from. A lot of things in my biography, I don't know where people came up with that. That's not true. I came up with it myself. I was on a swim team. That's true. And
What event?
50 free. I was a sprinter, and that's about it.
Cool.
I couldn't do anything else. No one ever said the Carrot Top thing to me, and I'm a marketing major in college, so we had to come up with a logo for the class. It had to, whatever it was, it could be a product, it could be something. So I came up with Carrot Top, and I drew a carrot, and I had it in a microphone stand. Friends said, "What's that?" I said, "That's my logo." He said, "Logo for what?" I said, "For when I become a comedian." He's like, "You're not a comedian." I said, "I know, but I already have the logo." And I drew this logo, Carrot Top, and then when I first went on stage, the guy brought me up as me, Scott Thompson, and open mic night. And I said, "Can you bring me up as Carrot Top?" And he said, "Carrot Top? Whatever you want to be brought up as, Or Queen Latifah." So I just said, "Bring me up as Carrot Top," and I had this big, huge, like a red wig. They sell in costume stores, just a big red afro. And I put it on, and he said, "Please welcome Carrot Top." And I came up, and everybody's laughed because I have this red wig on. And then I took it off, and I had the same exact hair as the wig. So it just stuck, and I did that that was my opening for forever until I came up with a different one. But Carrot Top just stuck, and people say, "Hey, you're a Carrot Top guy, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, man, it's like a blessing and a curse." Like,
well, I was going to say, are you happy?
Oh, yeah, I'm not, but when I did it, I'm like, the first time someone said Carrot Top, I was like, "Oh, God, what have I done?" I could have had a way better name. I chose it. So, but now, of course, it is what it is. It's great. It's great. It's great. I grew into it.
It was a good choice.
Yeah.
So I came out of the womb knowing that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up, I'm older than you. It was Ed Sullivan and the Hollywood Palace and all these variety shows. And I would see Alan King and Jack Carter and Myron Cohen.
Oh, beautiful.
And I would say, how do I get to do that? I'm a kid in Indiana with no talent. Did you come out of the womb saying, I want to do this?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it was right out of the womb, but it was close to it. I remember being very young and watching The Tonight Show with all the when the comics would come on after the guests. I'd watch the guests first, like Chris Christopherson, God bless him, he would be on, and then there would be like George Carlin or Bill Cosby or anyone, and I would always wait and sneak out and watch it because my mom would go to bed.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
My parents would go to sleep, and I would sneak back down and watch
Yeah,
it, man.
yep,
And
same exact
when
thing.
Buddy Hackett was on, I thought it was the funniest thing in the history of show business.
Absolutely.
So you did the same thing.
Same exact thing. And my mom was here. She's still alive. She would tell you, "Oh yes, I remember coming. You can't watch it. You go to bed." And I would sneak down right at 12 because the comics would come on right around 12.
Yep.
And I would turn it on real low, and I'd watch them. And then, as whatever year it was, we got the VHS tape thing. My mom would let me videotape them, and then I would study them and watch them again, like the next day, over and over and over. And at the end of the week, I'd have, they usually had 2 or 3 comics in a week. I would have all these tapes. I think they're probably still in a box somewhere. It'd be Carlin, and I would watch it over and over and over and watch his jokes. Even if I already heard the joke, I'm just watching the mannerisms and the timing. And so I really did. Yeah, I studied.
Who was the first one who made an impact on you? Was it George?
George Carlin, yeah, for sure, George Carlin.
The transformation he made from doing hippy-dippy weatherman.
Absolutely, right. It was just 2 different people.
Yeah.
2 different completely like styles of 2. Like he just switched midway through and was, I'm going to be this guy. When he was the fun it down. But he was still part of that, but he, brilliant. And I think another reason why George Carlin was one of the first is because he literally was my father, George Carlin. I mean, that's my dad.
In what way?
Same posture, same grumpy, same little gray hair,
really?
Same attitude. And he was very observational, my father. He would say things all the time, and I would just look at him like, that's funny, Dad.
I think your dad worked for NASA, correct?
Yeah.
And what was it like growing up?
Unbelievable, because you don't think about it when you're a young kid, right? My dad's off to work on rockets, and he trained the astronauts to drive on the moon. And I didn't really ask much questions. I didn't really care, Like I'm like any other kid, right? I wanted to watch TV and go play on my bike and do whatever. Build a fort. I used to always build these massive forts. And my dad would say, go to the launch. And I said, I don't want to go to the launch. He says, no, we're going to go and, we get to sit on top of the VAB, the building where and there's astronauts there. I'm shaking hands with astronauts. And now looking back on it, yes, now I'm like, I do remember the last time when I really was like, I got to meet right before the first shuttle, Bob Crippen and John Young. And I was just about the age, I was 13, whatever. I said, 14. I said, this is cool. This is like meeting a rock star.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous and excited. And I even said to them, if I couldn't meet Michael Jackson or Freddie Mercury or Mick Jagger, an astronaut was pretty cool. And the fact that my dad knew him, it's kind of weird, and trained him. And what was funny, we were at the launch, and it was like, it's gonna go, and we got there right before it was blazing hot out, and they had scrubbed it to a little bit later in the evening. So my dad's like, we're gonna stay a couple more hours, and there was like these stands, hot dog concession stands, hot dogs, Coke, sodas, chips, candy, and then there was a beer tent. So my dad says, what do you want? And I said, I don't know, I'll just do a hot dog and a Coke. My dad looked at the line at the concession stand with the Cokes and stuff, and he looked at the beer line. There's one guy in the beer line. It's like 50 people deep for the other one. My dad says, you're going to have a beer. And I'm like, okay.
How old were you?
I was like 13.
Oh, my.
And he said, no, don't tell your mom. So first thing I did, I come home. How was the launch? I said, I drank a beer. And I hated it. I have never been a big drinker ever, but I was like, he goes, how is that? He said, you got to drink it. You got to stay hydrated. So I kept trying to drink it down, and then finally he got me a water like a good dad.
I've never been a beer guy. It always tastes like rotten apples.
Yeah, no, I don't like beer either. No,
it's horrible. Do you have pictures with you and the astronauts from back that time? Yeah, that's a very special time. When I used to work at the Nick Studios in Orlando, when there was a launch, we used to go on the roof of a building and watch those things. They were like 50 miles down the road.
And it's still, right, it's still amazing. You hear the rumble and the thing.
Yeah.
That's why the new ones, the SpaceX, they go, like that.
Yes.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, that was...
And the whole round shaking. Like, there's a launch today, and you look up and there to go. Like, you don't feel or hear anything.
Nothing. I was trying to figure out where we met, and I'm trying to think.
I am too.
Did you ever come to the Nick Studios? Because I think I met you in Orlando.
I did a lot of stuff I did for just a little bit of time, I did the opening for Mickey Mouse Club. Oh,
did you?
Yeah, which was a nightmare. So very different audience.
Well, it's all kids, right?
Right. And it was like the time with Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake. They were on the show. So I'm like, I don't belong here. And I think I did it 3 or 4 times. And I finally told the guy, I said, listen, I don't want the gig.
Tell me about a typical work week for you.
Typical work week, yeah. And, so it depends. Like even doing like today, I come a lot of Sundays. I'll fly in on Sunday and do some work, or sometimes you come in for a cameo for a movie. I mean, it's just fun things you can do. Usually the week starts on Monday, and we do 6 days.
One show a night?
One show a night. I always say this because we were talking about Carlin earlier. When I got to know him, I actually got to know him pretty well over the years. And when I was working the MGM Grand Room, he was working the same. Like we'd said, he'd come in for 2 weeks, and I'd come in, and Tom Jones, and I was crazy. So one night I get there, the night before, like on a Sunday, and he was wrapping up the week, and I'm on the side of the stage, and he comes, and he had a, George Carlin, man, you're just like, I can't believe I'm sitting on the side of the stage watching him. And he walked off, looked right at me, and he says, oh, geez, how much of the show did you see? And I said, pretty much all of it. And he goes, oh, fuck. Like, he was kind of, like any comic, oh, man, I was horrible tonight. And I said, no, it was great. I mean, the thing you did end was brilliant, right? And he says, when do you start? I said, tomorrow. How many shows you do? I said, I just do one. He goes, just one. I said, I just do one a night. Saturday, we do 2. And he immediately said, why do you do 2 on Saturday? It's what it is. I used to do 3 when I was a comic on the road, so doing 2 is okay. And I said, if I fuck up the first one, I get a second shot at the second one. And I mean, within split second, when I said that, he came right into my face and said, never, ever give the audience the upper hand.
Really?
I mean, he was adamant about it. He says, don't ever say that again, that you have to give them a second shot. You do your shit. They get it, great. They don't, fuck them. Literally. And he walked by, and I said, well, that went well. And I looked at his manager, and I said, well, I'm sorry. He goes, no. He loves you. The fact that he even spoke with you.
Yes.
Just stay right here. He wants to hang out with you. Grabbed a water, came back, and he says, that little thing. And hey, Scott, come here. And I went into his room. We talked for a good half hour, and we didn't even talk about comedy. Just talked about just talked about where you from and where you at, and he really complimented my act. Like it was weird. He knew it, like he knew the jokes. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, that cup thing you do, that's fucking genius. How do you come up with that? I'm like, well, it's like how you came up with the stuff bit.
Yeah.
But he said, yeah, but the process is, I said, well, of course the process is different, but you have your process and I have mine. He says, but how did you even imagine that idea? I said, probably like you would just as a verbal stand-up,
That's interesting.
I saw the telephone, paper cups, and string, and I thought there should be an updated version because it's just 2 cups. We should have a 3rd cup for caller waiting.
Right.
And he was like, that's fucking brilliant. I said, it is. I was one of my favorite props that I thought was clever and funny. And proud of, like Seinfeld would come at me at the end of this thing and say, oh, damn, that's clever, dude. That kind of stuff. So I knew I was onto something. So that's it. 6 nights a week. And then we go, and then I go have a day off, go and start right back up.
Tell me if you feel the same way. I always say I've never worked a day in my life.
Yeah. Only when you have those ones you really do, where you come off and you're like, man, I earned that one.
I got called to open for the Bay City Rollers at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. David Copperfield had opened for them in New York. And I called him and I said, David, tell me what it was like. And he goes, it was miserable. I mean,
no.
It's the Bay City Rollers. Everybody thought they were going to be the next Beatles.
Right.
So they say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the comedy of Marc Summers. And this is what I hear. Boo!
Yeah,
Get the fuck off
you
the
suck.
stage, right? And it's like, what am I doing here? Oh. And so when I got off stage at 15 minutes and 5 seconds, he put his arm around me and said, you're the first act that didn't get anything thrown at them.
Wow.
It was one of those horrible gigs.
Why didn't you tell me this before I went out there?
Well, you know what? You learn from those experiences, and the fact that Carlin sat there and knew your act and appreciated what you did. I got to talk to him several times. I don't know if you remember Glenn Super, but Glenn used to open for him, and I used to hang out with those guys from time to time. And George told me 2 things. One, he was on the road so much that often he would have to pick up the hotel phone and say to the operator, where the hell am I? Because he didn't know what city he was in.
Literally.
And he also was the first one who taught me that he made more money on the merch than he did on the ticket sales. And, you buy the T-shirts for $5 and sell them for 50 times how many people in the theater, and, you kick ass. But the sad part about it is, and this is odd, he died penniless.
Carlin did?
Carlin was bankrupt. And if you listen to his daughter on, I guess it's Sirius, every now and then she'll bring it up and say things like, hey, thanks, Dad, that paying his bills. He apparently didn't believe in banks, didn't believe in investing his money, didn't have any money in the stock market. This man had to make millions of dollars over the years, and apparently nothing was left. And that always makes me scratch my head when I hear.
Because he's so brilliant.
So brilliant. He stood out to me. I might have been one of my first influences as well, because I first thought he was brilliant with, Hippy Dippy Weatherman and the radio stuff he did. But then the transformation when he came out on The Tonight Show with long hair and doing the stuff he did, it's like, well, how did that happen? And he was brilliant for, I don't know how many times I saw him in concert. Always had new material.
Oh, always.
Always.
Every year he had a new special, an hour special every year.
So topical.
Unbelievable.
And he wrote that stuff, and it was so freaking brilliant.
And you could go back now, and it's still relevant.
It still works.
And that's crazy. And you said something about your worst gig. So one of my best favorite, only I'm going to say this because it might bring us into the friend we were going to talk about. I was living in Charlotte, and I had.
Why were you living in Charlotte?
Well, that's where I first moved, because I'll tell you how. So when I went in Florida, I got a gig in Charlotte. And when I went to do the gig, I killed at this club. It had me middle, and then I did so well. The guy that owned this chain, there was a whole chain of clubs called the Comedy Zones. He said, can I book you, when can I book you next? And I was like,
tomorrow?
Yeah. I said that. I said, I have nothing. He says, you have no gigs lined up. I said, no. He says, you'd be kidding me. I said, no. He said, do you have a manager? And I said, no. Can I be your manager? And I said, well, what do I need a manager? He says, well, I'm going to get you a credit card, a car, an apartment, and I'm going to give you 5 years of work.
5 years?
I mean, as long as I wanted to play and as long as the clubs were open. And I was like, it was a big deal up in the South. It was everywhere. They had met it. So I said, yeah. Met a girl there. And I started, that's where it really started hitting, and then I was just literally at lunch, and it was like 1 in the afternoon, and they called me and they said, where are you? And I said, oh, I'm at lunch. And they had TGI Fridays were. And they said, can you get to Wake Forest? I said, Wake Forest, how far is Wake Forest? It's like 4 hours. I'm like, well, I guess. I go home, pack up my shit, and go, what you're opening for Dennis Miller at Wake Forest University. So I was like, oh my God, now I've never opened for, never a celebrity, never a room this big. So I get there, I find it, probably before I had cell phones, I had to get a map.
Of course.
Literally. And I find it, I pull up, the guy's there, I set up my stuff, and he says, it's very similar to your story. He says, 10 minutes, max. No, right at 10 minutes. I said, that's all I got, right? So I said, I got it. I go up, and it's just, I'm killing. I mean, it's just 2 jokes in. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't want to go too fast because I don't have I brought all the A game, and I was going to end on the cups and string because that was my big closer with the telephone. And so I had this, I remember one was a car that was shaped like a ramp. So if you hit someone, you wouldn't go head on, you just jump over. It was really silly, but it was very cute and clever. And I do that one, I do another one, I look over, and there's Dennis Miller on the side of the stage with the promoter. And he's going like the rap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm doing so well. I'm thinking, well, just go right into the cups. I'm gonna get a standing ovation. Like they're roaring. And I said, like, you sure I've only done like 7 or 8 things? And he's like, no. So I just said, well, let's end on this one. I pulled the cup and I call in. Hey, me to the call waiting for a clear cup. Caller ID. I know what you pick up. I'm just, and it was like 5,000 people just stood up.
Crazy, right?
And I go to and he comes out. I go to pick up all my stuff because he's gonna stand it on my stupid shit. And he walks by me. He's leave the shit. So I'm like, okay. So I go off and I look over and he kind of scoots a few things down, moves the mic over a little bit. And I go up and sit in the stands, and it was all over. I came back, and I said, can I, so I want to say hi to Dennis. Can I, he left. I said, fuck, I was going to say hi to him. So he every time he went on a TV show for the next 10 years, he would rip on me.
No.
Oh, but I mean, we've settled it now, but the reason why is sad because it wasn't to be true. He was just cared that bad. Finally one day I'm staying in a hotel in LA, and a little fancy little posh hotel, and the doors open at the lobby. I'm getting off the elevator, and Dennis is getting on. He's got sunglasses on, and I go, Dennis, and he goes, he always called me Topper. He goes, Topper, and I said, can I have a minute with you? And he said, yeah, if it's a minute. I said, it's just less than a minute. What's your beef with me? And he goes, I'm going to tell you what it is. when you and I played Clemson University, I said, it wasn't Clemson, it was Wake Forest. He goes, well, whatever it was. I said, well, I want to make sure you get it right. It was Wake Forest. You did 30 minutes and they told you to do 10. I said, see, I knew there was something that wasn't answered here. If you want to go back and look at it, I did 3 minutes. I was supposed to do 10, and the guy told me to wrap it, and then I left you told me to leave my shit. He goes, no, you did 30, and that was, you got to learn. And I said that you're not a pro. And I said, Dennis, I'm being honest with you. I said, I didn't even have 10 minutes. I said I didn't have 30 minutes.
Right.
So I wouldn't have taken the gig if they wanted me to do 30 minutes. He goes, well, whatever. Whatever. Let's just let it go. And I said, no, I don't want to just let it go. I want you to know that's the truth. So then, 4 or 5 other times I've seen with Bill Maher at the thing, and I've seen him finally one time it was him and David Spade stand there. I was just done one of those TV shows, Ferguson or something, and walked out to the thing, and they're just standing there. And David's like, no, Carrot Top. And I said, and Dennis like, oh, the Topper. And I said, did you want to tell David our spat, And he says, no. I said, we let it go, kid, So I said, okay, so we're good now? We're good? He says, yeah, we're good, kid. I'm going to the NBA All-Star game. The lead guy on ESPN is sitting behind me, and I'm in like this VIP, and I literally walk to the seat, and I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, I'm like right in the front, the VIP, and I look right behind me. I look at my seat, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's goddamn Dennis Miller. And I go, oh, hey, Dennis. And he says, hey, Topper. And I said, you're going to hate this. I said, I'm sitting right in front of you. And he goes, yeah. And he says, will you say hi to my son? And I said, your son? Yeah, where's your son? He's literally the biggest Carrot Top fan in the world. And I said, all right, what makes you more uncomfortable? You saying that? or me sitting in a better seat than you? And he just laughed. He goes, truce, buddy, true. I said, no. And his dad's like, why would you fight with Carrot Top? He's genius. I said,
really?
Yeah. But now if I see him, he'll hug me probably. So we made it good. And if he knew that, he would never, and really knew me too, he would know. But
you got to come up and have lunch with us then.
Yeah, well, no, I would.
I would.
I love that. Yeah,
he calls me Marky. It's always, hey, Marky. Yes, He's got a nickname for everybody.
Yeah. Topper, Marky.
Topper, I can see
Marky.
Where he got that. So we're talking about celebrities. I can't tell these stories because I've told them too many times. But I had a relationship with Jerry Lewis that was the strangest situation ever. Did you have?
Yes.
Did you know him?
Yes, we had a sexual relationship for years.
Hey, lady! Lady!
No, I did.
How did you meet him?
Doing the telethon first of all. With how just meeting him that way through working.
Yeah.
But he loved me. He was just one of those guys. I'd come off and he'd go, yeah, the Carrot Top. And then one time he was sick. He was in the hospital, and Max Alexander.
Oh, he loved Max.
Did. And Max one day said to me, hey, you want to go see Jerry Lewis? And I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, well, he's in the hospital. You want to go visit him with me? And I'm like, does he want me to be there? Like, he's in the hospital. The last thing you want to see is me fucking walking in and his blood pressure goes up. I said, no. He would lose his mind if you came walking in the hospital. So he walked up, and they said, he walked in, Jerry, and he goes, oh, what do you want, Max? And he's like, I brought you a something gram, a singing gram. And I'm like, oh God. And he says, oh, well, bring her in. And then I walked in and said, hey, Jerry. And he says, I wasn't kidding when I said bring her in. I'm like, he's already stick. So he's like, yeah, what is it, Sally? Is it Mary? And I'm like, no, it's Scott. Carrot Top. No, I know that, but what's your actual name? And he sat there in the hospital and performed he kept reaching into his drawers and pulling out the teeth.
No.
Yes, he did.
No.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
In the hospital.
He never stopped.
Never stopped.
He told me he wanted to die on stage.
Yeah.
Because that's where he felt the most comfortable.
Yeah.
But he was a complex son of a bitch.
Oh, there was definitely other sides of him.
Oh,
absolutely.
My God.
Yeah. He never showed it to me. He was always sweet to me, but
he could be nice. He could turn on a dime.
He came to the show right before
he came?
Yes. I went to his movie premiere.
Which movie?
The last one he did with Nick Cage was in it.
Yes.
And I was there on the set watching them film the exact scene. So they had the premiere, and I went and I said, this is, watching, I'll come to Magic. And I went to the premiere and I sat, he said, you sit right here. And he made me sit right next to his wife and him, and I was right across the aisle. And he kept looking over, like, this good kid, right? And he said, the thing was over, and he said, when do you work? Where's your show again? I said, every night at the Luxor. I'm going there right now. He says, his wife, we're going. I said, well, just let me know whenever you want, He went the next day. People always say that. He said, I got a call, and they said, Jerry Lewis is coming. I'm like, tonight? And they said, yeah. I'm like, oh, my God. So he comes in the dressing room. They had him in a wheelchair at the time. He got up from the wheelchair, walked in, gave me a hug, and he said, look at you, man. And he was, the whole grabbing the cheek.
Oh, yeah.
But he was like genuinely like a fan of mine. Like he didn't say like, how many times you bailed me out at the telethon and God, and I used to say, I did. There was some that was just times you had to really tough to do. And he said, what time do you go on? I said, oh, we got like 15 minutes. Oh, Jesus, well, God. What? Well, let me let you go. I said, no, if I don't know it now, I'm not going to. I got the. I'm dressed for the show. Oh, you're dressed for. That's how you're going to go out? I said, yeah. He's still funny, right?
Guy,
still funny, right? He said, you're going out like that? You got to get dressed though, right? I said, no, I'm dressed. He goes, you're going to go out like that? God, I love you. Are you really not going out like that? I said, no, I am going out like this. And he came to the show, and we have pictures and video. He's laughing at everything. I mean, hard laughing.
Really?
And I go into the audience, and I do this thing where I give out a shot of Crown to somebody, and I see him, and I'm like, do I announce him or do I not? He seems so into it. So I said, all right, this is, from a comic to, a dream come true. Jerry Lewis is in the crowd.
God, and nuts, right?
They just lose their mind, and he loves it. And then after the show, he came back, he brought me in, and he said, everything that you could say positive about a show, just genius. How do you? I don't even know where to start. And his wife's like, he doesn't know how, because it's it's like an old vaudeville kind. My show's really fast, and music, props, and video, and stand up, everything. And he was just like, my God. And it was like an hour and something. I said, yeah, my God. And then I said, well, he said, he just says, well, I gotta go. And I said, well, of course, I can't thank you enough. And he says, you want to do the picture thing? We don't have to if you don't. I said, no, can we? He says,
yeah. I want to do that.
So we got a picture.
Oh, my.
It's great. I got, my opening act, and my crew is in there. Everyone's all excited. They're just standing there quietly. And my opening act says, Mr. Lewis, is it possible if I could get one? And he says, if it's the last fucking picture I ever do. But it kind of snapped at him. And so he came in. Well, get in here. And he did it, and then he was, no more fucking pictures, right?
I saw him do that so many times. He could no turn more on
now,
a
right?
dime.
Fuck. All right, let's go. That was great. All you guys did an excellent job. They didn't want to take any pictures.
Oh, my God.
When, I was like, do you mind if I do the quick picture thing? Or do you want to do that, or you don't do that? I said, well,
You always want to do it. There's so many times that I wish I would have done it, but I
absolutely. I was same thing. I'm always that guy. I'm like, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I should have got a picture.
Yeah. Wayne Newton.
Brilliant. Love Wayne Newton. Yeah.
You know him well?
Yeah.
I used to see him. I saw him, okay. So I was a theater freak. And there was a place called Starlight Musicals in Indianapolis, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And I was about 14 years old, and I had a paper route to make money. And he was opening for Jack Benny at the Starlight Theater. And I remember buying a $9 ticket to sit in the balcony to see Wayne Newton sing. And followed him. When I had a talk show in New York, he was a guest, and I got to know him. And do you know the story about him and Johnny Carson?
Oh, maybe if you refresh me.
So the deal was they were both up for taking over a hotel in Vegas. And Johnny would go on in his monologue every night and make some gay joke about Wayne Newton. Okay? And Wayne apparently had it with the reference. And to see Wayne tell us, I'm backstage after a show, and I said, could you tell me the Johnny Carson? Well, he starts to sweat already. And if you see Wayne, here's what you folks don't realize. The two front teeth are bleached whiter than anything you've ever seen in your entire life. He's got a solid gold microphone. He's a unique man, talented. At one time, he should get off stage now, but that's a whole other story. You got to know when to walk off. But he starts telling me the story, how he drove into the parking lot at NBC. They let him in because it was Wayne Newton. He went to Johnny's dressing room and grabbed him by the throat and said, what the F did I ever do to you to make you say this stuff? And he said, Wayne, it's a joke. And he goes, that should stop right now. And if you say it again, I'm going to come back here. And, threw him back down. And, Johnny never did it again. But I would have loved to have been in the room, a fly on the wall, to see Wayne Newton grab Johnny Carson by the shirt and say, this stops right now. And he could be an intense guy.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's a big man.
Yeah.
The question is, What did he do with all of his money? This guy has been bankrupt a couple of times now. I heard he had to sell his house. And, it's like he was Mr. Las Vegas. He had so much dough. I went to see him, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And, voice wasn't what it used to be. He used to play 17 instruments and dance around. Now I heard he's working like a lounge thing somewhere where they have to help him down the stairs. And it's like, really? I mean, he's one of the few people that went into Branson. He was one. Him and David Brenner.
Branson, yeah.
And both failed. It just didn't work. You would think that Wayne...
I say Brenner, yeah. I can't see Brenner failing, and he's so funny.
He was funny as hell.
He's great.
But it just didn't work in Branson, nor did Wayne, which always confused me. Why didn't that one work?
If anything.
And I always feel bad for the fact that these guys, bigger than life.
I say that a lot of times when I have if something goes, if a crowd is like, just a shit crowd or something, they just kind of whatever, moany. I'll say, what do you mean, fucking Branson? Jesus Christ, we're in Vegas. And it always kills. Even people know Branson. They're just saying that. They all laugh. I said, what do you mean, fucking Branson? Jesus Christ. It's Vegas people.
I worked at Kenny Rogers Theater there, sold it out twice, 5,000 people. And the audiences I thought were really, really good.
Yeah.
But I was doing the Nickelodeon stuff back in the day, and it was family entertainment. But that's another interesting place to be. I'm not sure. Is it still in existence?
I don't know. I think so.
They used to have fiddle player or something. I know some Asian fiddle player who used to draw more than anybody. But the things that we do for a living.
It was the other guy, the guy that really made it big there, the comedian, Russian guy.
Yakov
Smirnoff.
Yakov Smirnoff.
He was like the Branson guy, or maybe still is. And Greg Brady, I think, is
right.
Barry Williams.
Yeah, Barry Williams. But Yakov. So I get off stage, and sitting in my dressing room are Yakov Smirnoff and Glenn Campbell.
Oh, fuck.
Okay. So Glenn Campbell, he had a son from, I guess it was, I don't know which marriage it was, first or second, and my son was best friends with him. And there was a situation once where Glenn called his son and said, I want to take you to a Dodger game. And unbeknownst to Glenn, his son wanted to bring my son with him, and all hell broke loose. Mm-hmm. And so when Glenn was backstage, I said, hey, I know your son Dylan. He said, how do you know Dylan? I said, my son Matt was supposed to go to the Dodger game with him. Well, he got up and walked out.
Oh, seriously?
Got up and walked out, okay. And I said to Yakov.
Oh, fuck. I cleared the room.
I did. And I said to Yakov, where do you go to high holiday services here in Branson, Yeah. And he said he loved it. I mean, I think he's out of the business now. Somebody told me he became a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something like that.
He came to my show and left before the show started.
Oh, before it started? In Vegas? You're kidding me.
No. He came in with this woman. I don't know who it was. And they said, they all, Yakov's in the seats with his guest. And I go do this, and I go into the crowd to do my normal thing where I say hi to some folks. And I said, how about this? Where Yakov Smirnoff is here. And I see 2 empty seats, and I said, where's Yakov? And everybody's like, who the fuck's Yakov? I'm like, Yakov? I hear in the radio, he's not. I said, the guy next, I said, was he there? He said, I don't know. Were they here? He goes, when did they leave? He says, they left right when you walked out. Swear to God. And I said, right when I walked out? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, was it a bald guy, the thing? He goes, yeah, he and a wife. I think they were in a fight.
Oh, my.
And I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck Yakov Smirnoff. I did this whole thing with the crowd. Well, fuck him. Fuck Yakov Smirnoff. And the whole crowd they don't even know who he is. I'm like, yeah, no idea. But I'm like, this guy with same seats at the thing, and he leaves right when I walk out. Please welcome, let's go.
Let's get out.
Think we've seen enough.
Did you ever meet Rip Taylor?
Hated me. I mean, he thought I stole his act, and he would tell me and scream at me.
Really?
Yes. I was at a chicken place in West Hollywood one day. I'm just grabbing a little bite of chicken, whatever, after the gym, and I order my thing, and I'm waiting for them to put a little number on your table, and I'm sitting there at my table waiting for the chicken, and I just kind of look over, and I see this guy glaring at me.
Does he have the wig on or no wig?
No wig.
No wig.
And he's just glaring at me, and that's what was weird about it, because I kept kind of looking over like, who's this guy? And I could he just had a very distinctive face, and it's got the big white mustache, and kind of, the whole, just minus the wig. And he had a little guy with him, and I finally, they brought this chick, and I said, thank you, and I went to take a bite, and they were getting up. And he just walked right by me, so I was like just about to, and I just was watching him like he was going to say something. He says, "You're a fucking thief. You are a fucking thief."
Really?
And I was like, I said, "Do you want some of my chicken?" I mean, I said something like that. I said, "No, you're a thief." I said, "I bought this. I just bought that. I didn't pay. I just steal it. You steal my hat. You stole everything. You should rot in hell or something." But he was just, "You should rot in hell, you son of a bitch." And he walked out. And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I put the two and two as Rip Taylor. So then I'm doing the Tonight Show with Jay, and they're in Vegas. So we're doing a Vegas one at the theater that I work in.
Oh, at the Lexar, really?
No, at the MGM at the time.
Oh, MGM.
The same room that Carlin and me and all they've used all the time. So when Copperfield's in now. So in the back, I had come out to do a thing, and I came around the back, and he's sitting in a chair. I didn't know he was going to be part of the show. He came out in the beginning to throw confetti into that. But he's sitting there, and I do my little rehearsal, and I walk by, and I look. He's got the wig on and the whole thing, and his little glitter jacket, and he looked at me again. He says, "I fucking hope you die."
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh my God. And
then I'm like, I think I told Jay that, and Jay's like, "Oh, yeah, it's funny, man." So I go to the Comedy Central is aired one night with Jon Stewart, and this is great. Jon Stewart has Rip Taylor on the show, and Rip Taylor is talking about me stealing his act.
No.
Yeah, full on like.
This is when John was doing the talk show?
Yes, and he was like, and he the whole thing. He takes the act, everything. And I'm like, what the and I would watch that show all the time. So I'm like, so mad. I'm like, call my people. And I said, "Can you get me on the Daily Show to do a rebuttal?" And immediately they said, "Absolutely. Holy shit." John's like, "This will be great. We'll have like a little, this is good television, good war." And I wanted to have him on with me, but no. I couldn't make it, but I said, I want to go on. He said, "Well, we're going to be off a week." I said, "Well, can I send a video response and you can play it?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Great." So I went down to the local comedy club in Orlando.
And recorded something? Yeah,
I said to the crowd, I walked there, and that night, I wasn't booked. There was all the guys, met the comics. I said, "Hey, would you guys be I'm going to film something, just 2 seconds. It's just, I'll be in and out of here." And they said, no, do a show. I said, no, I'm just doing this it's a joke for something. So I had a bucket of confetti. And I had, and my hair was all, my hair's normal, just weird. And I think I put on a glitter jacket, and I had a bucket full of confetti. And they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carrot Top." And I went through the crowd like he does with the confetti throwing. Happy days are here again. I did exactly that same thing. And then we sent it to Jon Stewart, and I said, and I got on they put it, and he said, I was in a Zoom. I said, "Hey John, thanks for, I just wanted to rebut to Rip Taylor's remarks about me stealing his act, just because I want to make sure that everyone watching, and including Rip Taylor, knows that my act is nothing like his. I brought you a clip of the show I did last night, so you can run the clip." And he runs it, and it's that. And John, they come back from it, and he's just just losing his shit. And he says, "Nothing like it exactly. I don't see it." And you can't even stop laughing because I'm doing the exact what he did. That's what made it funny.
Oh my God, I did. So now the natural transition is Gallagher, and I gotta ask these questions. So Gallagher, in many ways, changed my life. I was his opening act at a place called the Laugh Stop in Newport Beach, and at the time I was just doing magic. And he came to me and he said. I'm still Mark Berkowitz. I wasn't even Marc Summers yet. He said, "Hey, Berkowitz, how much they paying you to do those crappy magic acts?" And I said, $150 a week. He goes, "Ha! If you were a stand-up comic, you'd make twice that." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you're just a novelty act." He had the biggest novelty act in show business.
They're talking a novelty act, calling someone a novelty act.
Which was hysterical.
You hit watermelons with hammers.
Yeah, that's right.
Bouncing on a couch.
He was the one who got me to stop doing magic and just do full stand-up, which, in some ways changed my life, although I was never terribly successful at it. But he was a smart man.
Oh, very. Genius.
In many ways, and people say I'm nuts about this, Carlin-esque.
Oh, no, his stand-up is beyond.
Oh, my God.
His stand-up is one of the most brilliant stand-ups routines out there.
How he thought
of some... The comb, tomb, boom, bomb.
Yes, that whole
routine,
right?
Brilliant.
I mean, how do you even think of that stuff?
No, right. Brilliant.
And so the story is you met him when you were like 13, and he was performing somewhere, and you went backstage?
Yeah.
And said what?
It started out, I went to him, I met him about 13, 14, and I always wanted to be a comedian, and I had never seen his act, never knew anything about his style, and I was just blown away. And I told him, I said, "Man, this is what I want to do." And he says, "Yeah, you should do it." And then a couple of years went down, I started doing comedy, and I went to, when he was huge, playing a big 5,000-seat arena in Fort Lauderdale, and I went down there to see him, and I said, I've been writing a few jokes, and he's like, oh, what are they? And I read them off. He goes, oh, that's pretty good, man. That's good. That's funny. And then one time I said, I wrote one for you. And he said, you wrote me a joke? And I said, yeah. What is it? Well, first I got to like it. What is it before I say it? So I said, I was standing there waiting to get into his dressing room. And the door said, this door must remain closed at all times. So when I came in, and then we're sitting there chatting, and he said, well, good, we'll watch the show and take some notes, and don't steal my shit, just take some notes. And I said, well, I have a joke you can put in your show now. I just thought of it. And he goes, what? And I opened the door, and I said, look at that. What's funny about that? And he's like, that's very funny. I said, why is there even a fucking door?
Yeah.
So he went in that night and did it.
He did it.
And then, yeah. He says, he always had the observation. People that do that, and they see signs that say that. Then there's a sign on the door. It says, this door must remain closed. Well, then why there's a goddamn door? Right? And he says, Scott wrote that. And he gives me this credit right there at the show. And I'm like, wow. And then I went and saw him in Vegas when I was 18 and I just was doing it a little bit. And I told him, and he's like, well, okay, I like your style. And then I called him one night and said, I'm on the Tonight Show. And he was like, what? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, watch me. And he was just...
He was upset that you got on the Tonight?
Yeah, he was upset that I really got on the Tonight, and my act was really clever and fun and new. Yeah. And he kind of said the same thing. He's like, it's kind of a little bit like mine. I'm like, no, I don't do... It's nothing like yours. Like, if anything, that's all I wanted to do was not do his.
Right.
And that was really the whole idea. Be the furthest thing I could. So then we kind of became friendly again, and then in and out for years and years and years. And finally, one time we were somewhere, and he said, "I'm going to tell you what where you fucked up." And I said, "Okay, where did I fuck up?" Seriously. He's standing in the valet at the Bellagio. I was going to meet him for lunch, and he was just a wreck. His glasses were broke. He had like duct tape on, and it's not even a prop guy, but he just looked a wreck. You know what I mean? Like there was like corn in his hair, like just hadn't bathed, and I kind of felt it looked like Crosby from Crosby, Still Nash coming up to the valet, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's Gallagher, like white hair and just white.
Oh, you didn't
I hadn't seen it, didn't recognize. That was like David Crosby.
Oh my!
And he comes up and this kid says, he goes, oh, can I get a picture with you? And I said, yeah. Right as I take the picture with this kid, he walks up, and I go, oh yeah, no problem. And I go, Gallagher, and he goes, the fuck was that? And I said, what? That? Did you hire a photographer to film us? And I'm like, what photographer? And he goes, the kid that just took. Did you hire him to take pictures of us? And I said, the guy I don't even know the guy. It was the guy that wanted a picture of me. He says, no, you set this whole thing up, this whole lunch, so you want to fucking videotape me. That's what we're here for?
Oh.
And I said, Gallagher, I don't even know what you're talking about. Let's start over. How are you? I don't know that guy. He was just a fan.
He goes, buy it?
No, he wouldn't let it go for a good 5 minutes. Now he's almost screaming at me. And he was trying to find a cigarette. And he just turns around to this rapid guy. He says, Carrot Top, did you have a cigarette? The guy says, no, yeah, maybe. And he said, you Gallagher? Yeah. He gives it to him. Well, he said, I need a fucking light too. And lights it for him. And he didn't say thank you. And he turns back at me with a cigarette. And he says, I'm going to tell you where you fucked up. I said, oh, besides setting this lunch up with the photographer, where did I fuck up? He goes, no, you stole the dumb shit. You didn't steal the smart shit. And I said,
what does that even mean?
He means that I took the silly props. I took all this dumb gags, but I didn't take his stand-up, which is brilliant. And I said, well, first of all, I didn't steal anything from you. And if I was going to steal, I would have stole your stand-up because it's brilliant. I'm trying to give him oh my God, because I really said that in your stand-up, this is like no one's. It's the best I've ever.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant. He says, yeah, but you took the dumb shit. That's where you're fucking stupid. And he's taking a cigarette.
I
said, I didn't, dude. I didn't. He's like, well, whatever. And he says, I've got this rubber. Swear to God on my life, God shut me dead. Right after he takes his pip from you, I've got this rubber steamroller. Do you want it? I'm like, well, now you're going to give me the stupid shit? I'm not going to steal it? And he says, no, yeah, do you want it? I said, sure. And he said, okay, I'll make sure they give it to your warehouse.
And what was it?
It was a foam steamroller the size of this room that he'd have someone come on stage and he'd roll over him. But I can't fit it on my stage, and I never end up getting it from him. But then he came to my show that week. He came 4 nights in a row.
Oh, no.
4
Sitting
nights
in the audience?
On the side. Nope. Sat in for my sound check, my pre-check, everything. And then sat on the side of the stage 4 nights in a row. And when I came off stage, my crew would be the ones that could appreciate this. He came back and says, everything's got to be changed. Everything,
After he's hearing the audience scream, what's got to be changed?
It was the best show I had ever done, probably in that room in months. I mean, it was which is one of those we called a road show. You come off and you're like, that was a road show, man. In Omaha, fucking crowds got Carrot Top shirts on. And I came off and I said, what, the best show Gallagher could have seen me do was that one. It was just, I was dancing, man. And I came off and I'm like, fucking road show, dude. And I look at my guy, he's like, killed it. I turned Gallagher's on the side. He comes walking around the other side as I go, we meet, and he says, you got to change everything. And I thought he was kidding. And he says, no, seriously, you got to take your trunks and move them the other way. You have them facing that's dumb. Move those, take that, and don't put that, and that thing you do there, and get rid of all the video shit. It's too much.
And so he wasn't working anymore at that point, was he? Mm-hmm. So he had nothing else to do but to pick on you.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then it was 4 nights. So the third night, he was a little complimentary. He said, well, that one though, that's good. And I said, what about, you don't like anything else except that one? And that's the least clever one I think I have. And he said, yeah, but you know what works, and da-da-da. And then this is how it ended. So I said, are you by chance coming tomorrow? He said, yeah, I might go see Blue Man Group. I said, all right, well, if I don't see you tomorrow, we go home next day. We're driving in. We're not even 10 minutes from the hotel. My manager texts me and says, your best friend's here again. Oh, no. I said, fuck. I said, let's pick up a watermelon at Vaughn's. And I said, do we have didn't we used to have a prop, like a hammer in the warehouse? And he says, yeah, it's actually an old Gallagher mallet.
No.
And I said, where is it? And he goes, when you go in the warehouse to the right, it should be right there. We go to the warehouse. Look, it's right, the Lux is here. My warehouse is right here, next to the stadium. And I walk in. I'm looking everywhere. And I said, I don't fucking see it. And he says, behind the... And I see it. It's like this big hammer. I'm like, oh, my God. I said, so I walk in. He's talking to my crew out in the thing. I come backstage. I've got the watermelon, I have a stool, and the hammer. So I said, go put the hammer. I'm trying to hide it from him. So right for the show, he says... I said, are you going to stay and watch the show? And he says, I'll buy a little of it. I don't need to see any more of it. I said, okay. I'm thinking, damn, because I want to do this bit.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you're here, I had this idea. It might be funny. And he goes, what idea is that? I said, I'm going to have this watermelon on a stool, and I'm going to set it up in the show. I go off my finale, my last thing. And instead of I come off, and it's great. You see it on the thing. I put the stool down. I put the watermelon down. And right when I go to grab the hammer to take it, he runs out. He didn't tell me he was going to do this. He runs out, grabs the watermelon, and shoves me like really hard, like enough where they threw me off stage.
No.
Violently, just get out of it, and then like that, and he looked back at the crowd, and he walked off the watermelon. The crowd went berserk, and I get way too. Yeah, I get up, and you look it up, Carrot Top Gallagher melon, and fucking Gallagher, and the crowd was going ape shit because literally, would they have expected to see Gallagher after I made a joke about I hit the watermelon at the end of the show? It was brilliant.
And did he do it?
He did it. He did it. No, he did it. And I got done. I went back and I said, I went to get him a hug, and he goes, I don't get I said, it's fucking brilliant. Oh my God, this is going to be crazy. Well, he didn't get it. No, he said, I don't get it. I said, did you hear the crowd? They went nuts. He goes, yeah, but what do you want it for? I said, just social media. People love it. He goes, no, I don't want you to put it on anything. I said, why? It's funny.
That's mind-boggling to me that he didn't. Was that the last time you saw him?
Or close to it. He had come another time and just kind of walked in, and he came in and smoked a cigarette and took a shot of whiskey or something. And
he was the angriest guy, and I never figured out why. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, what a
But it was crazy. And the crowd went nuts, and it was like, you know, a moment for me, you know, my mentor, one of my mentors.
Yeah.
You know, that I literally studied, grew up watching, and here I am having a bit on stage. It was great.
That's the old thing about you don't want to meet your heroes. You know, when I met
sometimes.
Jerry Lewis, I thought, oh my, I died and gone to heaven, and I got him to do my talk show, and that's a whole other story. And then he just flipped on me, and I don't know what it is about those guys. You really almost don't want to meet these folks. You know?
Yeah, sometimes you're right. You're just like, maybe I better not meet them.
Yeah. So the rumor was that Johnny hated prop acts. So you get the Tonight Show. Did you do it with Johnny?
The week after he left, I got it.
The week after he left. Oh my God! See,
Literally,
I always
Johnny
wanted...
left. Jay came in, and I was there on that next Monday. I was on. They still had the gold star and the blue seats in the same studio for a couple of years.
Because I always wanted to do it with Johnny. I did it with Jay.
I always wanted to do it with Johnny too, and I auditioned for it, and I killed. And Jim McCauley, who was the booker, came up to me at the Improv and said, "Holy shit! I don't think you could ever do a better set than you did." I killed. It was all just for the TV set. You know, it was like 4 minutes, all TV stuff. You know, clean Tonight Show stuff, and with the cup joke or everything. I had all my greatest hits, and he said that was just genius. And he said, but you know, I'm going to be honest with you. You're probably not going to be. I can't probably book you though. And I said, why? I just destroyed. And he said, Johnny hates variety. Was how he put it. And I remember variety. And I remember looking right at him.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, I looked right at Jim McCauley and I said, he hates variety. What the fuck is the Tonight Show?
Yeah.
The Tonight Show is variety. I mean, it's Karnak. It's throwing the fucking swords.
Yes.
It's petting the dogs and pussies and all the jokes with everything was a prop on that show.
And he didn't want it. Oh my God.
There was a rumor that Howie Mandel, and he's a dear friend of mine, messed it up for everybody. Do you know the story?
Howie's a dear friend of mine as well.
Did he ever tell you the story?
No. Was it the first time he was on that blew it?
No.
Well,
he was on a long times. He went on one time. They called him at 4 PM.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a thing ready.
Right.
They said, just do something. You were on St. Elsewhere. Just come up and do you stand up. He said, well, I don't have anything I haven't done already in the show. And he said, all right, let me think of something. So he called this prop department store here in L.A. It has literally movie, everything imaginable. He went in there and he says, that fucking dragon, how can I get that dragon to the Tonight Show? And I was like now. And he said, I guess. They literally pack up this fucking dragon, took a big truck, and they bring it to the Tonight Show. They don't tell anybody. They don't even rehearse it. They bring it into the thing. He's never done this. He gets there, and they say, they told everybody but the people, pretty much. And Johnny, he just knew he was going to do a bit, or do a thing. So Johnny's, you can look it up. He's like, all right, coming on next, a good friend of this show is Howie Mandel, and the curtains open. And he's dragging this dragon out, but right, and that's how he puts it. I mean, his spot was supposed to be like 3.5 minutes, so it took him 3.5 minutes to get the dragon out to the spot. So imagine him just pulling this fucking dragon and coming over and pulling the sides of it and coming over here and just physically making it. And the crowd is just. Say dead silent, but giggling, kind of think, what is he doing?
Yeah, what's he doing?
And Johnny, you cut to him, and Johnny is going like...
And what's the payoff of the dragon?
That's what he ends with. He gets it down, and he's like, whew, and he goes over to Johnny, and he sits down. He goes, hey, man. And Johnny's like...
You're kidding
Well, what is that? And he goes, what's what?
Oh, my.
And Johnny took his pencil, and he said, all right, we'll be right back. And threw him out of the Tonight Show forever.
That was it. Yeah. His last one.
He says it, but it's a long one. He does it, and it's fucking great. He's like, whew. So how are you, Johnny? And he's like, what the hell was that? And he goes, what was what? And it's just yeah, you can look it up and show him pulling it out.
And so you think that killed it for all the...
Well, he said, damn, it might have been me, Scott. Sorry, because I fucked him,
Here's what people don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I did my research, and I think I'm right. You write all your own material, correct? Because... Is it because people don't get what it is you do?
Yes.
So explain
Trust me, I try so hard to get people to write things for me. I get people all the time.
So people try?
People have tried. There's even some writers out here in L.A., Hollywood, that have been writers for big shows.
And do they write like hokey-punny, silly shit?
And that's why I was like, man, you're not getting it. Yeah, there's a formula with mine. It's almost like, it breaks it down. Every prop usually is never something that's words, a pun.
Yeah.
So it has to be like a creation of something. So it's an invention. And and or something just like I have a brand new one for Trump. It's a golf club with all these rear view mirrors on it, so he can keep an eye on people trying. So, but it's an invention in a sense, right? It doesn't have a word thing to it.
Right.
It's like a golf club,
it's
a golf ball and a club sandwich, a golf club, that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't do that.
They don't do it. No.
And then I have a new one. It's horrible, but I do a joke about I have P. Diddy's backpack, and it's an oversized, like this big backpack, oversized bottle of baby oil. I mean, it's beyond silly, but man,
it gets a laugh every time.
Right. So it's that kind of. So if the people they know the process of how it comes about, it's usually the other. It's always something silly, like hey, it's a seesaw, and it's a saw with glasses on it. I'm like, no, that's not a fucking. So I do write my own stuff.
How often do you turn it over, so to speak?
Oh, all the time.
On a regular basis?
All the time. Yeah, I'm trying. As much as I write, believe it or not, I write a lot. I've also started to do more stand-up.
Did you ever do just straight stand-up?
No, not
I
now.
Don't remember
No, I never have. But now I do. Now I do.
Now
like
you do.
40 minutes alone in the show before I touch a prop.
Oh my God, I got to go again then. Do you still open with the animal video?
No, but that was fun for a while.
That was one of my favorite things.
That was fun.
I was peeing my pants.
That's always a fun opening because you get people to break, to open them up a little bit.
Yeah,
the animals humping
hell, man. Let's talk a little bit about. Oh, one other thing I want to ask you about. You played drums with Elton John. True story.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Not for a whole tour, just for one song.
Oh, just for one song.
Yeah. I was at an Elton John show and backstage. All their Elton guys came to my show and they said, "You're going to come to our show?" And I said, "I'm off. I'm going to go Sunday." And I go, and the drummer is backstage, and he says, "Nigel," he says, "I saw there's guitars in your backstage. You play guitar?" I said, "No, I play drums." He said, "Play drums?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a drummer. I can play drums. I can keep a beat, but I'm not a drummer." He said, "Oh, you got to come up and play on Saturday." And I'm thinking, on Saturday, it's Sunday night, so I'm thinking, okay, on Saturday.
The song.
The song. So I get to this part of the song. Saturday comes on. I look over, and he's just like get out. And the assistant comes over with the badge and he says, "You got to go. We'll take you with me." And I'm like, man. "Where am I going?" They said, "Bring you on stage." I'm like, "Fuck." So
Where was this?
Caesars.
Oh, man.
So I go, and they come around the back, and there's Elton. They said, "Here's your sticks," and I went in with Nigel's the drummer, and then they have the whole percussion, John Mahon. And
who's amazing.
The whole band is amazing. They're just, and Elton's amazing. So I'm just sitting and I'm just playing Saturday nights, all right. And it's they have the jumbotron catches me and the crowd's fucking
crazy.
And I'm like, and then and you see Elton at one point because my friend took a video not from the jumbotron but the people. And you see Elton John, and he did one of these kind of look back, like it was like something sounding not bad. It was just something different. Just one little thing, like one little cowbell maybe. And he's like, it wasn't bad, but he's like looking back, like what sounds different? So it's all done. Kills that go off. They bring it backstage. The band has kind of like a little band meeting. And they get cleaned up, and then Elton usually has something that they want. If so, they have like a little. A little quick to do, like just like that's great. The tempo's good. That one song was off. We're gonna. And that night he says, "That was a fabulous show." And he says, was there something different on Saturday?" And they said, "Oh, Carrot Top was playing." And he's like, "Carrot Top was playing drums?" He's, "Yeah." "What was Carrot Top playing drums?" He said he's a drummer and he wanted it. And he said, "All right, was it? All right, this next time, let me know if Carrot Top is going to be on the drum." And they all came in and said he loved it.
That must have been a cool.
He brought it up a few times on their jet ride home. He said,
"Really?
They were in this jet. They all fly back together."
That's one of those dream come
and
true
he said
things
that
we
he says,
get to
"What is Carrot Top all about? What's his deal?" Like he was asking me about me. He says he's interesting. He liked me though. He says, "I like you."
That must have been
he said,
fun.
"Elton really likes you. He really likes you." I could tell he liked me. He hung out and he brought me a bobblehead.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Any comedian, alive or dead, who you would have liked to have met or have met?
Oh man, I got to meet a lot of them actually. Buddy Hackett gave me a napkin with advice on it one time. I was in an airport lounge and
what did he say?
I walked in and I said I saw him sitting there, just with a black coffee and talking. I had some guy with him, and I said, "Hey, can I just say hi real quick?" And he says, "Just Buddy Hackett." He's, "How are you?" I said, I'm a comic. I just wanted to say hi." "You're a comic?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I just did Jay Leno's show last night. I'm going to give you some advice." And I said, "Oh, please. No, is it okay if I give you some advice?" And I said, please. And he took a napkin. I still have it. It's like a U.S. Air Club or whatever the airport was.
What did he say?
He said, the key to the treasure is the treasure. And he gave it to me. He says, now, do you understand what that means? I said, no. He says, you have a flight you're going to catch now. You can decipher it on the plane. You're a smart guy. And I have thought of it for all these years.
And still?
No, I think he means the key of the treasure. The key to this is this. The key to life is life. Like, enjoy every moment. Yeah. The key to the treasure is the treasure. The key. Forget the key. You are the treasure. So it's really sweet.
Interesting.
Instead of saying something like, don't stutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I met I'm trying to think of this one. I mean, there's musicians that I would have liked to met Freddie Mercury or Michael Jackson.
My
and
Freddie Mercury would have been
amazing. That would be. And I know the rest of the band really well now. So,
do you
and
really?
they always say the same thing. Oh, Freddie would have liked you.
What's the biggest holy shit moment of meeting another performer, be it a comic or what? I mean, like,
I'll tell you what happened with me. I was in Aspen, Colorado, and we were having dinner. And they were saying there's a rumor that Jack Nicholson lives in Vegas or in Aspen or has a place there, and that he's really like a cranky guy. And da-da-da. So I go to the gym, and I go just where we're staying. Just walk down a couple of blocks. There's a little gym, and I was walking back to the hotel, and it was like, I don't know, 11 in the morning. And there's no one out in the street. I see this guy across the street from me, and I just kind of look, and I'm like, God damn, it looks like Jack Nicholson. And then as I'm literally where you are to me, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, it is him. Now, all I heard is not very nice, and he was kind of had his head down, so I didn't say anything. And I just almost walked right by him without running into him. He looked up and he goes, Jesus Christ, fucking Top.
No kidding.
Yeah, Top. And he says, God damn, look at you. Fuck, look at you.
Unbelievable.
You look great, kid. And I said, you look fucking. He goes, I'm fucking old. He kept saying that. I'm fucking old. You're fucking. I said, I'm old too. No, you're not. You look. He kept doing that. I'm old. I'm fucking old. Top. Old Top.
Unbelievable.
So we just, and this is not a joke. He said to me, and why I got you here? Because I'm like, whenever you ever have Carrot Top and Jack Nicholson, he says, fuck Jay Leno. And I said, no, I love Jay. He goes, no, I like Jay too, but fuck him. You know why? And I said, no, why? Every time he puts you on that show, he never talks to you. And I'm like, he never did them. And I said, oh, but it's okay. No, you do your thing, and you're fucking, no one else has jack shit to say. You do your thing. You're funny. And then America wants to like talk to you and find out where your brain came up with all this stuff. And Jay's always like, well, be right back. What you think? And I said, well, it's true. Well, then fuck that. I said, I've tried.
Oh my.
And I did. I tried many times with not just
do
Jay. It wasn't Jay. It was, the producers. They would always say, no, you're Carrot Top. They don't, And then I had a movie come out. So I said, can I do panel just to talk about my movie? And they were so reluctant. They said, well, can you still bring a couple of props? I said, sure, I'll bring a couple of props too. Like, they didn't trust me to just stand there and tell them.
Amazing.
So I did a couple, and then I talked about the movie. And Jay was great with it. Jay's always been absolutely phenomenal. Well, you and I were on the show together.
Well, that's right. You were there that night. My God, I totally forgot about that.
And how do you,
the Burt Reynolds thing.
Yeah, because you were on the show. I got bumped.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I had been bumped 3 times. Oh, my God. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
And you were, it was, Burt was supposed to do 2 segments.
It's an infamous story. It's an infamous story.
It is.
You can look it up on
It never goes away.
No.
It's on the web all the time.
But it's crazy.
That's right. And Burt was nuts, and he was supposed to do 2 segments. He did 3. I had already been bumped 3 times. My publicist was the same person who handled Jason Alexander, and they wanted Jason to become a regular on the show. And they came backstage and said, we're bumping you again. And my publicist said, if he bumps Summers again, Jason Alexander will never do this show ever. And that's why they took me instead of you. Now, here's the story, and all of you who are not aware, Google Marc Summers Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And a year later, I was in Bank of America in Woodland Hills, and a guy comes up to me and says, do you know who I am? And I said, no. He said, I was managing Burt Reynolds. I said, oh, really? He says, you want to know what was going on that night? And I said, I'd love to know. He goes, let's just say he was taking some things he probably shouldn't have been taking. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, well, he was taking some drugs. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. So he said, that's why he was crazy that night. And, so the next day, a friend of mine, producer Steve Binder, called me and said, do you want me to call Burt's publicist? And I said, yeah. So he called his publicist, and he called me back. He says, Burt says that you were a bottom feeder of show business and you didn't give the movie star any respect. I mean, the next day in the New York Post, it said, Burt goes berserk on Tonight. and Jay calls me the next day, what happened between you and Bert?
I'm back there witnessing the whole thing.
Oh my God, it was just,
they said,
totally
we're going to have
forgot.
to bump you. And I'm like, fuck. And they said, we'll get into, and I'm there, yeah.
Yeah, because at the end, when Carrot Top will be on tomorrow night.
Yeah, Carrot Top will be here tomorrow night to fix this, to clean all this mess up, he said, yeah. Carrot Top will be here tomorrow to clean all this mess up. Wait, but tomorrow night, Carrot Top. And the funny thing is, I have a picture of Burt Reynolds and me that night with the pie all over his red sweater.
Oh my God.
Because every time that comes up, I'll say to someone, well, I was there. And they no, the thing with, I said, no, I looked it up. Carrot Top watch the end of the thing.
Yeah.
And he said, then Carrot Top will be, we had to bump him, he'll be there to clean all this shit up.
You got to send me that picture. I got to see
Yeah,
that
we'll
picture.
send it. I'll find it when I get in the car.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. A couple other things I want to ask you about. What do you do for fun?
If I go snowboarding, we'll go somewhere and you get out in the.
But do you ever go to Rome or?
We did a couple of years ago. We saw Roger Taylor from Queen. They said, "Come to the house, Scott." In London, and we actually do. When we go, and it's like a castle, and But most of the time, vacationing for me is when I go to Florida. I have a house on a lake, so I just go to my little boat and I float in my boat.
Because you don't hang out with other comics, do you? I mean,
no, and not as a choice. But I guess when I lived here and I was go to the clubs every night, and go down almost every night.
Yep.
If I wasn't working, I would just go down and sit in the back of the Improv or store and watch, and sit on the curb, streets with them. But that was a long time ago, and that's been that long since I've ever. Unless I see a comic that come to my show. We had a couple of comics come to the show this week. There was a festival in Vegas, and they came. But other than that, I don't really, and that's the thing that's sad when I do shows like this. They'll say, "Who's the new guy that you like? Who's the new guy? Comedy, not the new guy I like. Who's the new guy in comedy like, or woman?" And I'm like, George Carlin, and they go, "No, new up and coming." And I'm like, George Carlin, like I don't know anybody. I watched the roast of Tom Brady. And I didn't know any of those people.
None,
no, not one.
Yeah.
Well, you knew what's her name? I said no. So no.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't know anybody. I really don't, and I'm horrible at that because I'm a foot from Joe Coy was standing behind me at this Joe Rogan thing. He says, "Hey man, I'm a big fan." And I said, "Oh, thanks." I didn't say I was a big fan because I didn't know. And my friend's like, "You just didn't say hi to Joe Coy." I said, "Where was Joe Coy?" He's like, "Right there." I'm like, "Fuck."
I went to a dinner the other night for Sam Rubin. I did the same thing, and I said to a friend, "Who's that?" And he told me, I won't mention names, and he said, I felt like an idiot, and I went back overwards and apologized. But
Sam Rubin, love him.
He was the best. He was putting me on television when nobody should have been putting me on TV. And 3 weeks before he passed away, he flew to New York to see my show. And he was an amazing guy. Are you a good business person?
I'm bankrupt, Mark.
That's why you've been hanging around Wayne. No, I mean,
no, I think I am. Yeah, because I don't. Like I said, I don't excessively. I don't have like people always say you dress like a homeless guy, and I do because I do. So no one asks me for money. But I don't have a private jet. I don't have rings. I have a cock ring. I don't have like. excessive, thing. What my big spurt would be when I come and I travel is I like to stay at a nice hotel, that kind of thing. That's where I spend. Yeah, other than that, I don't have hobbies. I don't golf. I work out at the gym and then I go to the show and same as you.
Rumor is that you do a lot for charity, but you don't talk about it. True?
I do a lot of charity stuff. Yeah, I do a lot for the Ronald McDonald House. I've been on the board of their committee for goodness years and years.
Nice.
And it's there's certain things that I do a lot of charity work for that, but everyone wants you.
Yeah.
So you have to, it's like I would love to, I get involved as much as I can. That one I'm really involved in a lot. I do a lot for animals. I do a lot for everything from the blood donation drives to we have an AIDS walk that Penn and Teller does every year. We do that's great. Thousands of people show up for that.
So you pay
and
then
I do. I mean, I just did something for the Imagine Dragons. They asked me to get involved. It's like, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, I say yes 99 and 44 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, for what we do, we're so lucky to get paid to do what we're doing.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. So here's the question people always ask me, and I'll ask you, and I think I know the answer. How much longer you want to do this?
Fuck. I just put that in my show.
Did you really?
I just put this in my show.
No
I
kidding.
said, I'm just weird. I've been doing this so long. Now the question people ask me is like, when are you going to retire? I'm like, God damn, do I look that bad? And I said in the show, I always say in the interview, God, I hope I make it through this interview. It could be any second. Yeah, I don't have a. I don't have a. I don't know if you have one or not, like an ending thing. I've got 6 more years on my contract at the Luxor, so it brings me to I'll be 65. But a lot of my friends that are doing comedy were doing it when they were 75, and shit, so who knows? I don't know.
I tried to retire when all my producing. I was producing Dinner Impossible, Restaurant Impossible, I was hosting Unwrapped. I was at Food Network 20 years, and all of a sudden everything stopped. And I went, okay, well maybe that's nature's way of telling me to stop doing this. But I can't retire. I am just,
same.
Because I don't play golf. I don't have hobbies. I don't do anything.
Same thing.
I don't like to garden.
Yeah, they exactly. They asked, and it might not be the only person to answer this way, but I saw it one time. They asked Willie Nelson. They says, "When are you going to retire?" And he said, "From what?" I thought that was just brilliant.
That's the best answer.
It is. Like, from what? Retire from what? Why would you retire from what I'm doing? In fact, do it all year long.
Well, it goes back to the thing about you got to tell people what it is that you want to do. And I always wanted to do theater. I always wanted to be on Broadway, and I knew I didn't have the talent to do it. But 6 months this year, I was off Broadway doing a one-man show. Yeah. If somebody would have told me that would have happened, I would have said, no freaking way. And this movie, it's like, I'll be 73 in a couple of weeks, and I think to myself, well, when I got done, they said, well, maybe there's more of these around the corner for you. And it's like, well, that could be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to be this old and try to memorize lines ain't easy.
But, true.
Do you find that to be the case even with your material?
Not material so much as it like when you do a movie thing and you're working with other actors and you got to hit your beat and your marks and all that shit. It's so different than what we do stand-up
different
wise.
art.
Different completely.
Yeah.
And I do okay with it. It's funny. I just did something with Hacks, with that show Hacks, and it was so fun. But it was just the way they shot it. We had, I had my one line, then a break in her line, and then my line. So it wasn't as hard as when I did a full-length film,
right,
where the first whole page is just you talking. I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, you got to memorize it. And
I know. I had the other day. I had like 4 pages of stuff, and I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
That A, can I memorize it, and B, can I give it the meaning?
Right.
And that's the hard part. You're just not saying words.
Right. No, you're being emotions.
Yes.
And they working off of their actors, and they're working off your emotion too, right? Because that's at least what I learned when in my acting classes that I had was it was the one word they wrote down on the board: listen. 100%. And I used to say, to what? And they said, listen. Yeah. You don't worry about listen to what they're saying, and then right. And I'm like, interesting, because you're right. If you just all you know is your lines, when they do their line, you got to come back with just your line. You have to listen to what they said, and emotionally, she might even give you, or he might give you a different read.
Exactly. Do you know Mark Lano?
Mark Lano.
He was one of the owners of the Improv.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I know Mark.
So he was my acting teacher when I was in.
No, Mark.
I must have been late 20s when I was doing that with him. Kevin Nealon was in a class with me. And
Kevin Nealon.
One week he said, okay, everybody has to cry in the class tonight. Well, week 1, I couldn't cry. And week 2, I couldn't cry. And week 3, he was just needling the shit out of me. And I picked up a chair and I threw it at him. And I left the class. And he said to me, think about something miserable in your life. I said, I grew up in an upper middle class family in Indianapolis, Indiana. I didn't have any problems. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Well, there must be something in your life. I couldn't think of anything. So I do this movie, and the last thing, I had to be really emotional. And I didn't know if I could do it. Well, I broke down, and not only did I cry, but the exec producer everybody was crying. And I texted Mark the next day, and I said, it took me 40 freaking years, but do you remember the time? And he wrote me back and said, you know what? I get it. Thanks for telling me this. And by the way, the older I get, the more emotional I get. So congratulations on that. But I had to call him and say,
that's great.
It took me I'm
proud student.
Long.
Yeah, you had to learn how to do it.
But I finally got there, And that's the other thing about the challenges that we have. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to do. I mean, would you like to do Broadway? You toured in colleges forever, didn't you?
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fun gigs, but tough gigs, I found.
Oh, probably now they would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think then I was a young idiot just doing it. I didn't think about it, but yeah.
I applaud you for doing as long as you have and being so successful.
Oh, thank you.
And I've always been a fan.
Likewise.
I know for years there were people who would talk shit about Carrot Top as you laugh all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't have it like Carlin. I don't have a bank. I should get a bank.
You got to get one.
I got to get a bank.
I know some people.
Some guy said today, he says, on the Carrot Top, he's running all the way to the bank. I said, actually, I just walk. It's a wisp walk.
I love that Liberace line. Remember that bank I laughed all the way to? Well, I bought it. That was
That's
the thing.
great.
When I worked in that summer theater, would you like to see my rings? After all, you bought them. I mean, that old show business stuff that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's great. Liberace.
The Rat Packy of Vegas. There's nobody left.
No.
It's Cirque du Soleil. And what else? I guess Penn and Teller, are they the longest running act there now?
Me and them.
Same time?
Almost down to, it's like kind of an inside joke, but when we're about to have our 40th anniversary, and for me, comedy. And everyone always says the same thing. Are you the longest running? I said, no, I think I'm the longest running comedy show.
Yeah.
Because Penn and Teller, I say they're magic and only one talks. So. Yeah. They don't qualify, but they're of course they're both.
He's made a great career not having a dog.
No shit, right?
Yeah.
And then after he won't shut the fuck up. It's like, God damn.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, he doesn't talk.
He's a smart guy.
Scott,
this has been a ball.
Likewise.
I can't thank you enough for finally being able to make this thing happen.
Me too. I'm glad that we did because I was excited to do this. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. See Carrot Top at the Luxor Hotel 6 nights a week. The 1 week he's off in Florida or hanging out here in L.A., but you'll see him and you'll laugh your ass off. Marc Summers Unwraps. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you.
Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited. Created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Korneluk and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Gielen. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player, and if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.